What's good, y'all? I'm gonna show you how to make beats for Summrs and Kankan. Alright, so the first thing I did is I added this sequence from the Urban Serum Bank, and then I added an EQ to cut out the lows and some flangus and phaser, and then I just played this like kind of repetitive melody. And one thing I did is I overlapped these notes right here that are only a half step apart, so it makes the melody sound more sinister, and that's kind of the vibe you want to go for with these beats. And the next thing I added was this lead from Serum. It's from the same Serum Bank, and for the effects, it's literally the exact same effects, except I turned the phaser like all the way up. And this lead is playing the same notes, just in a different order, so it sounds like this. And then the next thing I added was this lead from Tarzan Serum Bank, but I took Porta off of Always, this Always knob right here, so it only slides when you have the notes overlap each other. So that's why some of the notes hit different than some of the others. And for this melody, it looks a lot more complex, but it's literally the same notes. See this C sharp, G sharp, and A? They're the same notes from the original melody, and then I just put it an octave up and then put them over here. These are the only notes that are different, these two notes, D sharp and E. And the reason they fit with this melody is they're the only other two notes in the scale besides A and G sharp that are a semitone apart. Alright, for the next melody, I added this synth from the Adapt Volume 2 Serum Bank, and this is the exact synth that was used in Yeats Off the Lot. For the melody, I only played the C sharp, but just changed up the rhythm of it a little bit. And then for the effects, I added the same effects that I've been using for all the melodies, except I turned up the flangus all the way in the phaser about 60%, and then I added two EQs, one cutting the lows and boosting the highs, and the other one just boosting the highs a little bit more. The melody without the gross beat sounds like this, and obviously it sounds really boring, so I added these two different gross beats. One is just a tape stop, and then the other one is a turntable. And the real sauce with gross beat is you want to right click to create an automation clip for both of them, and you only have the gross beat play for like a certain amount of time. Alright, so I messed around with the automation clips for a little bit, and now the melody sounds like this. And then the last thing I added was this sine lead, except I turned off the Always for the Porta knob, and then I turned up the Porta to 53 milliseconds so that it slides faster. And this melody is really simple again. It looks complicated, but it's really just this repeated 4 times. And then for the effects, I added a phaser, and I just turned it really low. And then I did a similar thing with the gross beats, where I created automation clips and messed around with it. So now that the melody is finished, I rendered everything out, and I pitched everything up by 1 semitone. So now the full melody together sounds like this. Alright, so moving on to the drums, the first thing I added was this 808. Since we pitched everything up a semitone, I'm now playing D. The reason this 808 hits so hard is because I turned up the velocity all the way and I turned up the volume to the max. Since this was going over 0 decibels on the master, I put a soft clipper. I pretty much use this soft clipper like how you would use a limiter. Alright, so the next thing I added was this hi-hat. It's really just the 2-step and it has a couple rolls here and there. But the only thing I really did to these hi-hats is I added a distortion and turned it like really low so you could barely hear it, and I boosted the highs. And then for the snare, I just played a simple pattern, and then at the end, I messed around with the pitches of the snares. Alright, so the next thing I added were these perks and open hats. It's not much to say about this, but one thing is everything takes up its own space. So this perk is hitting when no other perk is hitting, and same with this one, and this one. Like, nothing hits at the same time. Everything has their own space where it belongs. And the only thing that doesn't follow this rule is this perk and the snare, because they both play at the same time. And then the last thing I added was this chant and this key sound effect. Alright, so the drums all together sound like this. For the arrangement, I repeated this melody all the way through, and the only time the melody actually does something interesting is right here, where I chopped it up and made it repeat 4 times. The drums actually do switch up a couple times, where I add this new pattern, and all I did was just add a new 808 and pitched it up an octave, and I only put it every once in a while. So the full beat together sounds like this.